Welcome to the Create and Grow Your Brain Capital podcast. This is your host, Genein Letford, and I am so excited for today's episode because we are coming off the excitement, of course, a multi-decade build of excitement of presenting to you one of the best voices in Phoenix and around the world. I have with me the artistic director of the Phoenix Boys Choir. Yes, we have Mr. Herbert Washington, and he will be talking just about all things music, all things brain, all things just excitement. And we'll also be talking about why we feel that music is going to be top of the mind as our nation and our world really get into the essence of what it means to think well, to be cognitively flexible, to be fully human in this thing as we get through this thing called life. Welcome to the show, Herbert.
Thank you, Genein, for having me. It's been just a pleasure working with you and hearing all of the incredible work that you're doing around the world, traveling and teaching about the brain and health.
I'm just so excited to start with just everything that you're doing. First of all, let me read your bio so they can get just a sense of who you are, and then I just really want to just dive in and just talk about what's going on now, but what went on in the past of how you just came to be who you are and connected with PBC. So let me just say that Mr. Washington, as my son calls you, Mr. Washington, is the Harvey K. Smith Artistic Director of the Phoenix Boys Choir, a now two-time Grammy-recognized ensemble. And of course, he's a proud alumnus, which he'll talk about. Widely recognized for his dynamic teaching style, he is an active choral clinician, conductor, lecturer, and adjuncticator, regularly leading festivals and conferences nationwide. He has also co-founded the Choral Window, an international resource for directors that shares innovative techniques to enhance music literacy and energize rehearsals. Beyond choral education, Mr. Washington is a passionate advocate for diverse musical styles, having produced, composed, and arranged music in both commercial and radio settings. His collaborations include Grammy Award winner Tori Kelly, Jordan Sparks, Brett Michaels, and Jason Derulo. A graduate of St. Olaf College and the University of Arizona, he founded the award-winning a cappella ensemble Meow or Never, that made me laugh the first time I read it, and has served in leadership roles with the American Choral Directors Association. And now, under his leadership, the Phoenix Boys Choir was featured on the Grammy Award-winning soundtrack, The Sword of the Sea, composed by Austin Wintory for the highly anticipated PlayStation 5 release, sharing innovative choral and audiences worldwide. So welcome once again to the show.
Well, thank you. That is a mouthful.
Yeah, but it's fun and I love just reading it. And so let's just talk about the Grammys. You know, I actually went to the Grammys once as an educator guest. I was on the Queen Latifah show. I should send you that link. And we won tickets to go see the Grammys. So that was fun. And how was that experience for your boys? Actually, like, what happened? How did you fall into it? And what did it feel like seeing the show on Sunday?
Yeah, this is a dream come true. Back in 2001, we were Grammy affiliated as well. And we, for a project by Penderecki called Credo, we were featured choir for that. And, you never think that in a million years that you're going to return to the Grammys or even be in that same conversation. So to have this opportunity and then to give this experience, especially to the boys and to the whole Phoenix and the Arizona area is a rewarding and just a beautiful thing to just see where they're thinking of in the future. These are future artists and those that will go out into the world and do incredible things. So they'll never forget this moment.
Yes, it's a moment to not even reach the age of 18 to have that under your belt. What is talk about high achievements. And I'm an educator by trade, and so I know great teaching when I see it. And once I saw you perform at, I believe, the Black Educators Conference in Phoenix, and
Hmm.
I was like, "Who is this group? Who's this man? Who are these people? And how can my?" He was 6 year old at the time.
He was
Um,
young, yes.
or 7, or I think he just was ready. But how can my son be a part of it? Because I not only heard beautiful voices, but I saw wonderful teaching and character building components. Can you just introduce our listeners to the Phoenix Boys Choir and what your mission and vision is?
Yeah, thank you. So the Phoenix Boys Choir, this is our 78th season. We feature 5 choirs starting at age 7 all the way through men's choir. Recently, we just started a 4 to 6 year old minuets group, which is a early childhood development ensemble, and that's for girls and boys. And the focus is on not only commitment, but discipline and teaching character building and development through the art of music. And so that's how we are building the lights of this world, the next generation of humans that will go out, especially males. Males always get this negative stigma and connection to them, but these boys are brilliant academics. They bring their full selves to every conversation, every piece that they sing, and they have to be vulnerable. Singing is a very vulnerable sport. We talk about this all the time, that you have to give your whole heart, your body, your soul, your voice to the idea, your mind to the idea of singing. And it's not just it's not a one man job. Everybody is a contributor in this world, and so the mission is to continue to have global ambassadors, to build character development, and to make sure these boys are ready for the next phase of their life and be successful through what we are doing at the Phoenix Boys Choir.
And that's amazing. And you hit on you said a word sport, right? I've never
Mhm.
equated choral singing as a sport. Could you elaborate on that?
Yes. The boys, we talk about this all the time. The boys have to be physical. You have to engage your core. You have to stand for long periods of time. You have to do choreography. You have to be a thinker, not just a singer. I always tell them all the time that I don't want just singers. I need thinkers. I need you to be engagers, and you have to be storytellers. And so all of that involves the full self. It's not just a part of you. Everything is engaged, and it's different from a basketball team where you only need five guys at a time on a court, and everyone can just watch. There is no standby bystanders in music. Everyone is a participator, and we are literally as strong as our weakest link. Um, and the difference is that once the sound leaves your mouth and that enters the ears of the audience, that is it. That moment is gone, and you
Mhm.
don't get another shot at that. So we have to focus on being engaged, fully focused, energized in each rehearsal. Every time I see them, I need their full self in order to get close to what we think is deemed a perfect, if you will, or movable performance,
Yeah,
impactful performance.
I've been waiting probably since I first met you for this time because you carry just
Mhm.
this depth of wisdom that I feel the world really needs to see. They see the boys out there singing, but they may not get to see um, this part that I get to be privy to. I got to watch
Right.
Gustavo Dudamel do. I was invited to a rehearsal of the Los Angeles
Hmm.
Philharmonic with Gustavo, who I believe this is his last year. I'm so sad. I was there for his first year in 2009, and
Yeah, he's moving. He's moving on.
yeah, which is good for him. He did some great work. But it's like you see and if you could speak to this, you see the product. And a lot of times we're talking about this in leadership skills and in K-12 about how
Hmm.
we celebrate the product. The product for you is like the show, right? Or the Grammy performance or whatever. But a lot of people miss the process. They miss what's
Mhm.
going on in the rehearsal. They miss the boys and the girls doing their scales in their closet at home. They miss the process.
Mhm.
Um, and that's where the gold is. Could you talk more about your thoughts about the product, only celebrating the product, which a lot of us are dealing with now, but really, how do we turn more into our attention into the process when we're choosing, things for our kids to do?
Right. I talk to the boys often about enjoying the process. The process is what we spend the majority of our time doing. That's the bonding. That's the technique focus, the energizing each other, uplifting each other. Rehearsals are hard. They're not easy. There's a lot of focus, and these boys are at 10 years old trying to sight read a new piece of music, and that is extremely difficult. It's not adults who are expected to do this. These are young boys. And so the process is where the magic happens. And I always encourage people to come in and see the conversations, to hear the techniques that are given, to hear how the boys are literally helping each other um, gain musical wisdom and share their musical wisdom. They're literally teaching each other in the rehearsal. And the goal is to build many conductors so that they become the thinkers, as I mentioned earlier. But it's less work on my part to focus on that. Once they start to understand what I'm asking for constantly over and over again, then they can start to teach each other. And then we can get faster to the music, get faster to the expressivity, and that is what makes the brilliance happen. And I always tell them, get out of your own way, get out of the way so that the audience can be engaged, so they can be impacted. And so we have to get all of the nuances, the details, the focus on the breath support and the technique and the pitch and the rhythm. That's all of that fun stuff is the the rehearsal. But when we step on that stage, we are ready to now just pour ourselves, because we are fully prepared. We can now pour ourselves into the music, and then be able to touch and go past the proscenium and actually break that fourth wall and get to the hearts of each of those people that are in the audience.
Yeah, break that fourth wall. That's a theater term. Um,
Hmm. Yes,
and
yes, it is.
And I'm reminded of the work of Dr. Charles Lim out of, I believe he's at the University of San Francisco, where he advocates. He's a neuroscientist, but he did a lot of work on improvisation in the brain. And for
Hmm.
these jazz musicians, once they learn the scales, I'm like, Sean, get to your scales. But they learn the basics, but it's almost like just all automatically learn. So when they improvise, the hard work has already been done, but they see the brain work of when you've already done the work and now you get to almost just fly the play. And there's this level of just switching on. They talked about the improvisation of you're able to go back and forth to think about the work, but now you're able to improvise and be free. And kind of like what you said, when they're on stage, they're just able to
Hmm.
give because they did all the mechanical work, right?
Right.
Yeah,
all the
awesome.
all the challenging work happened previously, and they're able to just be, like you said, I think be free to give their art and to give themselves to the audience. And that's why our audience is so impacted when they see these boys sing like angels, right? What they don't see is boys being rambunctious and running around and laughing and playing and singing, but then able to switch
Yeah.
quickly to a more focus on self-control, and that's where I think that the beauty and the magic happens working with young people. It's great.
And I think, one of I feel like it was a divine connection of why I'm now connected with you, because one of my goals is like to extract all of the gems that are there during the
Hmm.
process and the product, and make it clear to the world of why this is critical, especially with the transition we're in of talking about brain health, capital. And brain capital is brain health and brain skills. So looking at creativity, curiosity, adaptability, resilience, and self-control, which you mentioned.
Hmm.
Um, where? why should leaders of every area, but especially those in 0 through 18, but even leaders in corporate, really consider adding choir, sports, I love that, choir
Mhm.
engagement to their leadership toolkit?
Well, I think everyone should sing, adults as well. We've seen how it works in dementia patients, where you may not remember most things that happened with your family or memories in your pivotal memories in your life, but you remember that song, and those neurons are firing. Those connections are being formed every time you are connecting the voice and thinking about the text. And though there's a specific part of the brain, and you would have more details than I would on that, about how that's happening. But singing activates, multiple brain regions simultaneously. The auditory, the motor, emotional, memory systems, the language or the linguistic part of the brain. And so I think everyone should sing to build those neural pathways, if you will, because those are the builds the executive function. And so I we see that every rehearsal, we see those things happening, and these boys then go off and become greater academics because they focus on different languages. And when kids sing, they're not just making music, they're strengthening how the brain communicates with itself.
Mhm.
And I think that's extremely important. That's that you would love that neuroscience talk about singing. And so
I, I
uh
I was gonna say, just I do, and this is why I was just so excited to take what you do in real time, but to add the brain science to it. You talked about executive function, and for those of you
mhm.
who are listening, executive function really happens in the prefrontal cortex, right
Okay,
here.
thank you.
Um, and it involves, imagination, problem solving, self control,
Yeah.
just things, just that emotional aspect, where not the emotion from, like, you're just thinking, you're just doing emotional things just automatically, that's the amygdala, but really controlling your emotional outbursts, right? Or
Hmm.
understanding different emotions are appropriate at different times. And the beautiful thing that I saw, as I watch you teach, and your other teachers, by the way, you have a whole group of top-notch educators for all the choirs.
We have a
um,
great team.
they are really aware of just that emotional aspect, and
Hmm.
something that we're calling neurosomatic creativity. How do you connect the mind, the brain, the body, and the soul, the
Hmm.
spirit, to really intertwine and come together in order to produce? Can you speak to neurosomatic creativity and how you bring that into your practice?
Ooh, that is deep. um so I think one way that we do this first is engaging the body physically. I think physical activities help us, one, center ourselves, focus on our core, um, intake great oxygen when we're talking about breathing and breath control. And that allows me to talk about the posture and alignment that one must have to be an incredible singer. That is like I think that's the first step. Breathing is huge. Breathing. Uh, what there was a teacher that used to talk about and you have to help me out because it is called the para what is it
Paris,
paras sympathetic,
yes, parasympathetic
that
nervous
right.
system.
And used to talk about how that focusing on the parasympathetic sympathetic the nervous system, how that calms the body,
Mhm.
right? And when we focus on breathing, it is a proven fact that the heartbeats align when you sing, that they're moving about the same beats per minute, which is very interesting. that when you get, of course, a much more upbeat piece, everyone moves and is a little more energetic and more connected.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so we always start with the body, start with great breath control and focusing on just calming down the nerves. Boys have come with so much energy from whatever's happening in the day, and they come into the building, they're really excited, and we have to just slow that down a little bit so I can get them to focus, and then we can start focusing on the other parts of what we need to do. The second is that we start diving into vocal techniques that slowly warm up the voice into a larger range. So we started, very easy hums and oohs and things like that that will just get the voice and the body thinking about and the mind thinking about the task at hand, and how it's a muscle. The voice is just a muscle that we must build. The brain is a muscle that we have to build. And one thing about warm ups is that boys and youth usually go on autopilot.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we warm up, our educators have to stop through the warm up and help them, give them tools to help them think about, this is your own voice lesson, and what do you do to um, how can you bring yourself now to think about the line, think about the melodic line, or think about the dynamic level, or think about your own tone. And then we add text afterwards. We start adding text to that. How does the text inflection create a stronger sound? How does your core involved? What is the accent that we need in this particular word or setting? Um, and then we will go to talk about what is the color, what is the color of the tone that we want? What is the um, what is the overall impact? What's the historical impact and context of this particular piece that we're studying right now? What is the emotional side of what you should be thinking about while you're singing this? What are we trying to?
Mm-hmm.
How can you emote to bring the audience to tell that, have that story told to them in a
Mm-hmm.
stronger way? So there is a plan that we utilize for every rehearsal, and we try to be as successful as possible. Sometimes everything is so fast, and you're trying to plan, but it's not just a lesson plan of just learn music. It's a
Mm-hmm.
full lesson plan of how to create a whole person in music, how to bring that whole person together,
That's
through
beautiful.
song.
Through song. That's beautifully said. I remember I was at a fair on Friday and I saw a choir from a different area, and I was talking to her
Mhm.
about what she was doing, as far as grant writing, and she said, sometimes it's hard for choirs to get grants because they're like, well, you're just singing, you're not like feeding the poor, or. And I was just like, if they only knew, even though
Mhm.
singing by itself is important regardless, but everything you listed is things that companies pay me for to teach adults how to do. You are inserting it into the programming of this work, and so people are looking for people to teach them emotional intelligence, how to speak to their team members, and that's all about tone, right? That's all about
Mhm.
dynamics. How to synchronize your team members together. And so what you spoke about as far as the breathing and the heart, something called brain heart coherence. I don't know if you've studied any of
Mm.
that. And it's
Not
really
yet.
how do I get my brain and my heart in line? Oh no, heart rate variability. Yes. So there's a lot of work on that. And so breathing is the go-to. I just did a training a few days ago, and I was just like, don't don't think your breath is not important. The second you stop
Hmm.
breathing, you're done. But how do you use your
All the
breath
time.
as a tool to be a great leader, a great thinker, a great parent, a great whatever you're trying to do? And the fact that the kids are getting this training earlier in their lifespan is so it's brilliant, And so I'm just like, how do we show this to people that this is worthy of all of our support and all of our interaction and all of our funding, as well. Um, and then another thing you spoke of is the thinker
Mhm.
aspect. I love that. There's a concept called kinesthetic cognition.
Hmm.
So kinesthetic is, you moving, and cognition is you thinking, and why dance is so
Right.
important, because it's not just you running down a track and exercising. You actually have to think about where your space is in body. Can you talk more about um just the thinking transference skills you see your boys transferring into other areas of their life? And academics is cool, but even these kids have some pretty big things on their plate nowadays. It's hard to be a youngster. How are they
Mhm.
transferring these skills into every
Well, well, well. The first thing is that when I think of what we do in the Phoenix Boys Choir, especially when I meet these boys, the first thing I'm looking for is, are you able to look me in my eyes, shake my hand? How poised and focused are you in that audition? That is like the first thing I'm looking for, um, because those skills, which are seem to be lost amongst young people some days, are that able to go into a job interview someday and be able to represent yourself in a positive manner, in a very poised manner. And our boys do that right from the start, and those are part of that character building things that we teach as well. Academically, we know that that learning music develops the memory, the attention, the sequencing. A lot of the music is pattern recognition, and that's what a lot of what we do is pattern recognition. Um, Having the same idea of what the warm up is going to be, the same process. We want those boys to have that, and so they can go out and teach that. I always tell my boys, if you can't teach it, you don't know it. Learn it yet.
That's good.
Um, and the skills transfer to the academic performance and their behavior, um, and they're able to work together as a team. And so team building is huge for us. Again, we're not on our own island. um, when people hear, like, for example, if they're sitting in a rehearsal and they hear the music come together so quickly, well, that's because they've been working together with not only the pianist and myself, but also listening to each other, taking in their frequencies as well, and their energy, and actually literally learning from one another. And it helps us to move a lot faster. We have some leaders who are well versed in sight reading, but there are a lot of young people that are just learning, but we move really quickly together. And so music is like, an academic training in disguise, right? It's
Mhm.
this is it's We're training these young men for the world. And so when we travel globally and internationally. And I don't think people understand the impact, the magnitude it is for a boy to leave the family with a backpack and a luggage, be able to go to a hotel and have to unpack and be prepared to perform, and then do that again the next day, pack it all up, go to the next place. There is um, there is that confidence, that independence model that is proven to help them be successful in life. They have to be initiators of what they want to take hold of in life. We can't wait. In music, we cannot wait on the next man. You must be a leader and an independent thinker yourself, so that you can help move the music along faster. And
Mhm.
so, we I think those are some of those transferable skills that help these boys go off and be, even have a greater, what's the word I want to use, trajectory than many
Mhm.
of their peers, because they're already tackling some of the hard work that adults had to tackle at a much later age. And so you're seeing it at, eight, as early as 7 years old,
Mhm.
when a boy has to stand on stage in front of hundreds of people and tell the story. That is
Mhm.
daunting. That is a daunting task. But together, that team, they are able to do that in a very poised manner.
Ooh, that is very, very just profound to say because the really critical part of brain growth is, those early years, that foundational growth. And so if they're exposed to that earlier in the lifespan, the brain's like, what do you mean get up and, shake people's hand and look in people in the eye and present myself? I've been doing this since, since before I can do cursive, right? You can still do cursive. Or maybe have that. And also, and then you talk about the ensemble versus the individual. And I love that because I was in a band growing up and led bands when I taught, but it's that wonderful lesson of saying you need to be aware of what you're doing, but you also need to be aware of what everyone else is doing at the same time, simultaneously. And so to have that skill built in and then to watch them move it into when they go into corporation or start their own business or run a nonprofit, of you need to be aware of what you're doing, but you need to be aware of what the other components are, right? These gears moving and the team building. And then the last part I want you to, if you could expand on, there's a lot of things coming out now about frequency, right? And the frequency of the earth. I have my like 528, right? And 432. Um, and before it was like, ooh, woo woo, wah wah, like go hug trees. And everyone's like, but now it's like a real thing. Like people are actually paying more attention to it. And people are also saying, hey, how are frequencies affecting me? The frequencies I'm producing, the frequencies coming at me, the frequencies of people. And now there's even research on frequencies of emotion. Like you can feel anger, right? You can feel joy. Like when I was around, you have a student named Benjamin, I believe. And I'm just like, I see him interacting with Sean, and the frequency from that young man is amazing, but now it's becoming more mainstream, and now it's even heading into leadership training. Could you speak more about you teaching the boys about frequency and the impact of frequency on the brain, the mind, the body, and who they are as a person?
That's interesting. I, you know, I, I've never actually called it frequency before. This is new for me.
Mhm.
Um, we focused on the idea of brotherhood and the idea of belonging. I think in adolescence, this is the time to support, identity formation and emotional expression, and more importantly, just the idea of this is a safe place to sing and a safe place to just be yourself, right? This, uh, the I hope that we're providing a structured and healthy outlet, during their growth, their neurological growth and development, and singing, meets kids exactly where they are developmentally, and that's exactly what we're doing with the cadet choir and the town choir and whatnot. And we have that's a really hard task, but it takes everyone to kind of work together. But if it's a place where a boy feels like he belongs, and everyone is kind and gentle, and we use our mantra where they're professional and respectful and a friend to all, um, I think that helps them grow forward. And if that's the frequency, that energy, that positive energy is like when you walk in the building, I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to give myself to this process. I know it's going to be challenging, but the challenging part can be overlooked because I'm having so much fun. The
Mhm.
reward is great when we get to the stage, but I was just happy to be in the building every week, twice a week, or whatever it might be, just to be with my buddies and my friends and singing. Um, and so I think frequency is that energy.
Mhm.
Some days boys come in with negative frequency, and we had a student last night who was super depressed. But
Mhm.
then you saw, without me even asking, initiating, another boy go and talk to that boy, bring them into the fold of the choir, and to be that friend that he needed to then eventually get him singing and out of the funk of whatever he was dealing with in the day. And I tell the boys, not even for them, but even for the adults, adulting is hard. We deal with so much in the day, and a lot of it is administrative.
Mhm.
But when they come into the building and I see the laughter and the joy in their faces, and their excitement and that positive frequency, that changes my perspective on the day. It
Mhm.
changes all, I can finally escape, which is the whole point I got into the Phoenix Boys Choir and music in the first place, because I was coming from a dark place. And every time I walk in the building or sang with a friend, I felt like myself and belonging. I felt
Mhm.
like I belonged there. And that's where my happy place was. And
Awesome.
so
Yeah, and
hopefully the
if
book
we could go a
pieces.
little bit into to that, if you could share a little bit of your story, whatever you wanna share of how did you come to what was your journey like with PBC?
Yeah, I grew up in the what we all like to call the hood of Phoenix and the west
Mhm.
side of Phoenix, and my family is all gospel musicians, so they learned everything orally. I was the only one that went to college and actually learned how to read music and whatnot. But my mother was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia when I was early age, around 7, 8,
Mhm.
and a moment happened where she was taken in handcuffs, and I was coming from school, and she got sent to jail, and I got sent to foster care, um, and that was a really hard time, not knowing what's happening, what's going on, and where you're going to be. And I stayed in foster care for about a year and a half, and my aunt then came to get me. Um,
Mhm.
in fourth grade, um, one thing I love to do is sing. So I sang. I was the national anthem kid. I was the be on the stage and do performances and plays. And my fourth grade music teacher suggested that I look at the Phoenix Boys Choir, and it was great timing because although it was wonderful being with my aunt, there were issues that were happening, and so I ended up um, kind of being kicked out of that space around 16. And when I was in the Phoenix Boys Choir, I befriended the nurse of the Phoenix Boys Choir. Her name is Judy Van Boning, and I would go to her house. Her child was in the choir, and we became really close friends. And so when I got kicked out at 16 by my uncle for something that was not even my issue, the first person I called was Judy Van Boning, and she came to pick me up that night, and I never went back. She became my adoptive mother. I changed schools. When I went to the new high school, that got me into the college at St. Olaf College, Northfield, Minnesota, and I never looked back. Music was the thing, and so I attribute most of my success probably to that very first audition with the Phoenix Boys Choir when I was a young boy, and being able to travel to Japan, Philippines, and Hawaii at the age of 10,
Mhm.
and and think that your world was so small until it isn't. When you go out into the world and you're like, wow, there's so much more to see,
Mhm.
I was on another trajectory than my peers already, and so that's a little bit of my success story, I guess. And here I am, doing this full time and giving back to the same people that really paved the way for me and gave me an opportunity. And so I hope I'm being able to serve the boys in the same fashion and give them unique experiences, but focus on family first,
Mhm.
and making sure that their mental sanity is in great health, and that they know that this is a place they can call home forever. And if they ever need anything, this is where they can find it,
Mhm.
here at the Phoenix Boys Choir.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. I didn't know any of that, and I know you were like, we just need to sit down and just share my story. So thank you for that. And it's actually interesting because I just had a meeting before I got on with you, and it was actually with the Arizona foster youth. We're looking to partner with organizations that have their hands in the community and looking to bring this brain health and brain capital type of training to people who are doing great work in the community. So to see you have your own connection to that demographic is very divine, I guess, or just really cool to see just the through line connection. Um, Because, I went to UCLA, and one of my heroes is Coach John Wooden. He was the basketball coach for UCLA, and sent them off to many, many championships, but he said something that really stuck with me, and I took into my practice being a 3rd grade teacher and a music teacher, not at your height, but definitely, hot cross buns, we can do that on the on the recorder. But I tell people I don't necessarily teach just music, but I teach life through music, and I keep hearing that come through your speakings. And if you could talk more about just the emotional aspect, because a lot of this is the emotional intelligence that we need now in our leaders, and also about the intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. A lot of us, teachers and sometimes parents, we do it just, hey, if you do this, you'll get this, or here's the carrot on the stick. And what we don't realize is we're raising future adults that only do stuff just for the carrot on the stick, and they're not doing it for an intrinsic, because it's the right thing to do. Can you talk about how your work really helps develop the intrinsic aspect of the child's character?
So about the emotional portion of it, is this is very interesting because after COVID, we saw a decline in people's mental stability. Uh, you know, and emotional regulation is extremely important to the work that we're doing. It manages the feelings, the healthy feelings, the strengthened, through the musical expression. We talk about a lot of what we do is choir building and building the empathy that boys need in this lifetime for one
Mhm,
another. When we talk about servitude, is servicing others. We don't do that just with our voices. I want the boys to go out and do that with their hands and to serve in other ways so that they understand that there are people in need. And yes, their voice is one thing that they need, but they need more of themselves to that process.
mhm,
Um, the the bonding that happens is, I think, is extremely important. The brotherhood that we're building. Again, boys are facing, especially maybe because of social media, boys are facing trauma, and that's internal trauma just by being either bullied, cyber bullied, or at school, or whatever may be happening, and looking to us for safety. Parents are looking to us just for a great place to be, a great place where they see where their kid can see the self-worth. And
mhm,
again, when I talk about that choir is a team sport, everyone is a contributor, and I truly mean that. Everyone is important. When one voice is missing, the boy next to you or the two boys around you feel it,
mhm,
because that is a lack of frequency, a lack of vibration that you learn to connect with, and then it's gone. And so
mhm,
you have to now rebuild new connections. Um, the We see now I want the feeling of connected, um, that resilience that boys need to have, and which is why the rehearsals need to be challenging, because I
mhm,
want them engaged, but then I also want them to have that great reward when they step on the stage. So we must have worked for something in order to get there. Um, so the one of the hardest things is engaging youth, because what even see with my own boy, the only thing that engages my child these days is a video game, right?
mhm,
And so I have to be so energetic and exciting to be around, and when I'm in front of them, we need, to let the endorphins, elevate the mood, and reduce whatever issues they were dealing with, the pain. And so, choir isn't, just about harmony in music. It's harmony in the whole person, the nervous system, the breathing, it's building up that whole person. um and I just feel that boys need music now more than ever. They need art. And it's not just music; it's any artistic expression.
Mhm.
Um, Adults need it. I think, again, as I said earlier, humans need that to be connected to each other because
Mhm.
we're so disconnected with phones and devices and whatnot. And there's nothing like sharing a conversation with someone right next to you and sharing that laughter,
Mhm.
uh, crying, and having that and building that emotional intelligence and social health together. There's nothing like it. And so that's and you could see that right away with singing for sure.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Well, I will let you go. For everyone, check out the Phoenix Boys Choir. They are having their next series of performances, I believe, in March time.
March,
Uh,
yep, March coming up, and
so the links will be below. Please follow them, and any other way that they can get in contact with you or support you. I know you're always looking for donations to help these boys
oh,
travel around the nation.
yeah, I think it's not only to travel internationally and do the things that we're doing, but to give them the opportunity to continue singing in the Phoenix Boys Choir. Some boys have great voices, but don't have the resources, and so we need more people that believe in the building the mind, body, spirit, and voice as one, and building the whole person. So that's what the Phoenix Boys Choir is all about. And Janine, I thank you for your talents and gifts and sharing how important it is to sing, and for how important brain health is, and putting that on the forefront of everybody's minds around us. And that's super important. And working with your boy is a gem. Mr. White loves Sean, so it's so great to have him in the building, and all the incredible things he's doing. He's amazing. The accolades is at his age is uncanny. So he's a brilliant young man. We're happy to have him.
Well, it's an honor to hopefully serve you. We didn't even get to the whole dementia part and just how well you touch on it a bit, but we're just looking to partner with PPBC to be an example and a template to other choirs around the world and other performing artists on how to really teach brain health while you're already doing your great art. So thank you so much for being a trailblazer in so many ways. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and to everyone
You
else,
as well.
keep singing. See you next time. Bye bye.
Thank you, Janine.